Welcome to the Your Limitless Leadership podcast with Jenny and Brent Widman. Here, we believe leadership isn't just about titles. It's about how you show up in every aspect of life. Whether you're leading a business, building a legacy as an entrepreneur, guiding your family, or striving to lead yourself first, this podcast is for you. Join us as we dive into real conversations about growth, decision-making, and the courage it takes to lead with purpose. Get ready to be inspired, challenged, and equipped to become the limitless leader you are meant to be. This is Your Limitless Leadership podcast. Let's lead without limits. Welcome to Your Limitless Leadership. And I got to tell you, I got a special one today. This guy, I had the chance to meet you. Gosh, it's probably been 3 to 4 years ago now, at least. Mm-hmm. And man, and you may not know this, but who you are as a person and the way you care about people. This is Luke Sodergren, and he runs Express here, and he has 5 different locations here in the Twin Cities and into, Red Wing, right? We still have
Red Wing's the original location.
Okay. Yep. And how do I say this? Just the way you care about people. Like, this is a guy, to me, you are what true leadership is all about. I mean, when things you need to jump in, you jump in. When you need to pull somebody aside and lift them up, you lift them up. When you need to have a hard conversation, you do it. You don't shy away from a lot of things. And that's just having conversations with you over the years. There's those people that come into your life and hopefully all of you feel this way, that just touch your life in it, and you learn as much from them as you hope they do from you. And that's how I feel about you, hands down. So it's pretty cool to have you on here, and I appreciate it. But
I appreciate you saying that. Certainly the feeling is mutual. Do my best to live up to
that. You just be you. That's all you got to do. I'll give a little background. He's born in Iowa, of all places, which is fantastic. I got to ask, how big is Vinton, Iowa?
I haven't been there in quite some time. It's not very big. I want to say a few thousand, maybe.
Okay. So very small town. And it shows that you can develop into something pretty special coming from a small town. So I loved reading about this. Dad obviously was a business owner, so I know that's probably where a lot of the business sense come from. But your mom, church music director. And then your sister, that's kind of cool. Your sister's an opera singer, of all things. Out in New York. And then you've been married, which is a testament to you and your wife, June, for 17 years. So that's not easy by any means. And I'm guessing you've become just who you are and friends, and she is behind you 100% is what I would guess. It helps you make you who you are. So, let's start there. Tell me or us about you, kind of the evolution of Luke. How did you, because with Express, right? And then you do have a cigar shop, which is kind of intriguing as well, but how did that happen over time? Just where you're from, the things you've been through, and then to where you are now, just kind of the evolution of how you got to where you are now.
Sure. So Express business, that entire realm had never played a role, a thought in my life. I was never going to go that route. Growing up, it was always sports. It was baseball and hockey and tennis and golf. And it was always music. That was kind of the big thing. You had mentioned, my mom is a music director and, piano teacher. My sister is really gifted. She sings full time with the Metropolitan Opera in New York City, a really, really coveted job. My dad was a band director early on, a trumpet player. So we're a very musical family. That was always kind of my path. Grew up doing all the local orchestras and all states, and winning local all state competitions for the trombone and all that kind of stuff, and wanted to pursue a career in music, and so went to a private boarding school my senior year out in the woods of Michigan called Interlochen Arts Academy. It's kind of a feeding program to conservatories, mainly to Juilliard and Curtis, and so was out there, and I got kind of that conservatory lifestyle out there and decided I wanted to have more of like a real college experience. So my dad had gone to Luther College down in Decorah, Iowa. So I decided I wanted to go there. So went to Luther, met my wife, had a good met my lifelong friends there. All of them are still here in the Twin Cities. We see each other all the time. And from there, I went to San Francisco Conservatory out in San Francisco for
Really?
trombone performance, and was taking kind of auditions for orchestras all over the country, all over the world. Vancouver and the National Symphony in Washington D.C. and Buffalo, Syracuse, Jacksonville, just kind of all over. But the writing was kind of on the wall for it. It's really, really, really hard.
Hmm.
Just to break into that. Not many jobs, really, really hard to get into it. So pivoted, and there was an opportunity to get into staffing, and that's my dad had always done growing up from the time I was a little kid, and had a knack for it. So here we are.
So your dad was in staffing, is what you're
Yeah.
saying? Oh, okay. Gotcha. Because
So
I was wondering
that's why we moved to Red Wing.
okay. Because
Yep.
I was wondering how you go from obviously top of the top in music
Mm-hmm.
to staffing. Was there anything in between there? Or did you just start working with your dad, or how did that happen?
No, so I mean, I'd worked a few summers in college, in the office in Red Wing, growing up just for a summer job. I remember in high school, my buddy and I going and handing out flyers around the area, get a job flyers at convenience stores and, laundromats, that kind of stuff. But then there was a few summers I worked in the office interviewing people and making recruiting calls and helping out and that type of thing. But it's never dawned on me to actually work in the business. I was never going to live in Red Wing or be involved in that. But when I was in San Francisco, my wife was in Iowa, and I wasn't doing as well as I wanted to, and decided to move back to Iowa, and just wasn't getting the gigs. And so Dad was opening an office, or was wanting to open an office in St. Croix Falls. At that time, they had offices in Red Wing and River Falls, Wisconsin, and they were looking to open an office in St. Croix Falls, and asked if I wanted to help do that. And so I was down in Iowa and started making appointment calls for them. That's what they wanted me to do. Call businesses and see if you can set appointments for us to go talk to them. And it turns out I had a knack for it. And, I didn't realize how much I had a knack for it, but had some success with that. And then they just one thing led to another, and ended up moving up there. And it was, yeah.
I love the humility. It's like, I just started making phone calls and I did pretty
Honestly,
good.
yeah. I mean, I didn't really realize, I guess, the knack I had for it. In today's express world, the metrics they want people to do are to make 10 appointments a week with
Yeah.
with clients. And at that time, working part time, I was making 25, 30 appointments a week. So I was having a lot of success with it. Working 15, 20 hours down there, just calling from a 2-bedroom apartment in Iowa, not knowing anything about it, just trying to set up appointments for my dad and then manager named Justin.
So tell us, just so that people don't know, because obviously you and I know what Express is, but what is Express? Who do you staff for? What does that look like?
So Express Employment Professionals is a privately held franchise, the largest franchise staffing business in North America.
Wow.
In the world, for that matter. I think the last time I heard, they were the top 20 employer in the world, one of the largest staffing providers in North America. It's all franchise, so it's a territory-based business. Mainly, we are known as a light industrial business. So your entry-level manufacturing into your lower-level skilled trades. Almost everything we do is going to be what we call an evaluation hire. A lot of what we do. So companies coming to us looking for long-term hires, so they use us as kind of their outsourced HR department to go find those people, and then we, get them on their payroll eventually once they have a chance to evaluate them. We do some administrative, we do some, in clerical, skilled trades, some of that type of thing. There's also a healthcare wing of the business. There's also a professional, what they call specialized recruiting group wing of the business as well. Mainly what we focus on is that light industrial and administrative segment of it.
So you talked about that they put them on their payroll, but do you pay them? So I mean, it's
Essentially,
soup to nuts, if you will, right?
Yeah. So they start on our payroll, typically speaking.
Yep.
Yeah, there are occasions when we call that a direct hire, when they go right to the client's payroll. But generally speaking, a client comes to us saying, we're looking for XYZ material handler, warehouse associate, production tech, whatever that is. Here's the kind of specifics. Here's the wage. Here's the experience level, and we agree on a price. We agree on what kind of screening criteria that they're looking for, and we go find that person. Once they decided they're the right fit, we put them on our payroll. They evaluate that person for a set amount of hours. Typically speaking, it's around 720 hours.
Okay.
And then once they hit that criteria, the client will usually roll that candidate onto their payroll at no fee.
So they hire them from you, basically. So that's because I was sitting here thinking about the hard things about staffing.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to think that's tough at times too, where you have these great people that you're out finding. Well, then you got to find all new people all over again because you can't keep staffing them at different positions or different companies, if you will.
We do have candidates that are interested in more, temporary roles and project roles that kind of go from project to project. They might work a few months here and then a few months there. They like that variety. But we are one big recruiting machine.
Wow.
We have, each office just has people that all they do all day long is they're on the phone talking to people, squeezing every recruiting source they can for everything. And it's one big funnel. They're trying to put as many people in that funnel as possible. And we get face to face with every candidate, and we try to make a good as match as possible. And so we want to constantly have that pipeline flowing. So it's sad to see good people go on, leave us, but it's great to see. That's the whole purpose of it. We help that client find a great candidate, and we move on to the next. And hopefully, we can do that over and over again.
So for you, take me back to that, getting into this, and as a business owner, does your dad still have part of it, or did you end up buying that for him, or how did that work?
So I came on full time in 2011, and we still only had Red Wing and River Falls. And so I'll give kind of a brief synopsis here. When I came in, it was just those offices. I went down to be the on-site. That's where I started at our largest client at the time, Hearth and Home Technologies down in Lake City.
Okay.
He eventually, about a year later, went up and helped or started opening our St. Croix Falls location. And so I took over management of Red Wing. And then we started growing. So at that time, we had 3 locations. When 2015 rolled around, we opened up our Forest Lake location. So that was an open territory. We started from scratch. Me and another guy named Carl Hamley, you've met before.
Yep.
So that was an open territory. We started from zero. I think Peter Thiel has a book, 0 to 1. That's what we did, 0 to 1. There was nothing here, and now there is. That's where I'm sitting right now. And so when that happened, that was when he retired as well. So he retired in 2015. So that's when I started purchasing. So I bought the first half of the company. He had really no role anymore at that point. So at that point, we went from owning 0 companies to technically owning 2 companies. I had ownership in Forest Lake. Okay. Also had ownership then in what I call the big business, the Red Wing franchise, if you will. So those are two separate locations, 2 separate franchises, if you will.
What is, and for you, and I'll give you a second to process this, but I know we hear the hardest part or what have you, but what is some of the, I guess, challenges for you? Because here's why I ask, because I've been in and you know this, I've been in the staffing industry, and it was hard, and there's turnover and what have you. But whether it's as let's call it a salesperson or even a leader, what are some of the hardest or the challenges that you come across more often than not?
I think the hardest thing in our business is the consistency of effort. It's a hard business what we're in. Yeah. It's a sales business. We're business to business sales, and it's hard to come in every day and essentially get beat up. We have clients that have a lot of needs. We have associates that aren't always the most reliable. And there's a lot of plates that we're spinning in the air, and you have to work really hard, be really gritty, have a really high compete level, and you have to be able to do that over and over and over again. And so there's a certain, relentlessness that you need to be successful in this business. And I guess what's hardest for me to go back to one of your questions
Yeah.
is having multiple locations is being able to instill that in other leaders that then need to be able to instill that in their teams. We talk about it when in our leadership group about the idea of getting results through people. We have great leaders in our organizations, but they're only as good as them, right? And I tell them all the time, you're awesome, but you're not God. You can only do so much, and if we want to really take it to the next level, you have to help your people be as good as you are. How do you do that? How do you get your type of results through those people? So it's about mentorship, and it's about servant leadership. We talk a lot about that, helping them be successful, removing obstacles, showing them the way, but also being showing them how to be accountable.
Mhm.
And holding their feet to the fire, not from a point of you suck, but from like I want you to be successful here.
Yep.
And so it's hard to get all these different moving pieces going at the same time and doing it consistently over and over again every day.
Can you keep going down that path a little bit? Because you just said a lot of stuff right there,
All right.
whether it's servant and it's working through people and getting results through people and all these different things. And sometimes the challenges that us as leaders, it can be because I'm guessing you see so much in these people, you wouldn't hire them if you didn't see that in them.
Yeah.
And trying to get results through them or help them. What are some of the things, and again, I'm putting you on the spot here, but some of the things that you do to help that, some of the things that you see people really do need help with or push back, like what are things that hold them back from being successful too?
Well, the tough part is everyone is at a different spot. Everyone needs different things. In sales, you talk about like sales flexing, right? Every decision maker you come to needs a different style. Same thing in leadership. Every person needs a different type
Mm,
of you have to approach them in a different way. Whereas some people, they're more analytical, and you need to come at them and just like talk the numbers, talk through like the logic of it. Like let's break this down. Let's look at the problem. Let's come up with a solution. Some people just need to be told, just like how great they are. Just stroke the ego, get
amazing.
them going that way. Some people just need to be heard. They work. They work. There's. I'm picturing certain individuals as
Yes, I love
I'm
it.
sure when they listen to this and like, oh, I know what he's talking about there. But it's really knowing your people really really intimately, and knowing what makes them tick. I mean that's part of it. We were down at our national convention in Nashville for Express a few weeks ago, and they always do these things called franchisee spotlights. And one of the speakers this year was a guy named Rocky Gill from Tyler, Texas. He's really, really well respected within Express. Runs one of the best operations in the company. Just a
Mm,
sweetheart of a guy. Just awesome. And he was talking up there about grit, but also about the importance of relationships in our business. And it's so true. Most of what I think he was intending that to mean was on the outside, with associates, especially clients, but it's really on the inside as well. In my opinion, is having really good relationships with your people. Not so much always from a friendship standpoint. I'm not a big be friends,
yeah.
with your team members, but really having a good working relationship with them and how so they can be successful. I think knowing them really well makes a big difference there.
If you're listening to this and you're thinking, that's me, you're not alone. Let's call it what it is. You've got the drive, you've got the experience, like you have it. You have it. You know what you're doing. But something still feels off at times, or things could be better. We know that they can be. There's more. What we do is we help committed leaders go from guessing and grinding to really leading with clarity and structure and confidence. We're offering complimentary DNA strategy calls. We're going to evaluate how you're leading, where performance might be breaking down. It happens. And what really needs to tighten up within your business, within your leadership, within those people around you. Then we're going to take this next step. And what we're going to do is build accountability, the skills, and the systems to create that consistent or those consistent results around it. If you're open to digging in a little bit, The link is below in the show notes. Just book your DNAcall.com and we will find time for you and we will dig in with you. All right, let's get back to it. What are some of the things you do? Because I love what you said about understanding people. Because so many times it's as leaders we're separated, we just expect them to get it or expect them to know how to do things. And what you're saying is the direct opposite of that is I'm here to help you. I'm here to guide you. I'm
Mhm.
here to develop you, but the way you want to be led, not the way I think you want or what you
Yeah.
is it just spending time with them? Is it really listening and understanding? Or are there certain things that you do, whether it's one-on-ones or whatever it is? Are there
I'm
things
not good at one-on-ones. I check in with people pretty periodically, some more than others.
okay.
It's more, where are you at? What do you need? What can I help you with? Do you need anything? Tell me to leave you alone if you need. That's what you need. But just asking questions. That's the biggest thing. But it's more looking at trying to see things they don't typically look at. That's the value that I try and bring to our organization is someone has to be looking at the 30,000-foot view, and a lot of our leaders are in the grind of their individual
Yep.
offices, even the partners, right? Because I have partners in each one of our locations. Well, not Forest Lake, but the others, and even then they get so into the trenches of things. Someone needs to be able to look at the 30,000-foot view, and so I try and bring the value in terms of looking out in the future, or maybe at something from a different perspective, and ask questions about that. What's our plan here? And if they have a great and just in try and frame things from a different perspective, so they can start thinking about things differently, and ask questions, and just get them thinking, because too often I feel like they don't get challenged enough in just doing the same thing over and over again. And if they don't start looking at different avenues and where this is leading, and thinking bigger picture, sometimes it's hard to see the forest through the trees.
Well, that's you touch on that, and it's one of those things that again I respect so much about you is when things happen or you see something that needs to be, you jump in. So you're
Yeah.
not just telling people what to do, you're actually showing them side by side. And there's something to be said about that, that the owner, the leader, the guy, if you will, and you don't look at yourself like that, so I'm putting that on you, obviously. But
Sure.
how do you keep away from that at times, though, or how do you help your leaders stay away from that when they are in that grind of, well, I'll just do it myself, or I'll just take care of it, or I'll just jump in?
It's that is tough, because part of it is what makes them good leaders is
Yep.
when you own a business, you're always going to be putting that effort, and you're going to be showing up early. You're going to be staying late. Work-life balance is not. People talk about that a lot. There's not. There's no work-life balance. There is, but it's you work really hard, and then you force yourself to take time off. I had one of my partners talk to me about, like, oh, when do you find time to take time off, and like how do you like do that? And it's like, you don't. You force yourself to take time off, and you hope to God that you've invested in your people enough that you trust them to not let things go to absolute crap when you're gone. But you're never satisfied. You're proud of where you are, but you're absolutely never satisfied. And so I think I lost my train of thought of where I was going with
It
that.
doesn't matter. That right there, it's the adage of we live in this world of we just want more, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do we get to that? And when you, I feel like in one, well, obviously two man's opinion, one man opinion is we go, 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 go. And it's almost like we have to force ourselves to take ourselves out of it.
Hmm.
But the aspect of that helps us realize why we do what we do at
Yeah.
the same time. And it's trickling that down to
Yeah.
our leaders or our people too, that's not easy at
Yeah.
all.
And then that brings it back to your original question. There's how do I talk to them about getting pulling themselves out of it.
Yeah.
So, one of the ways I do that is by talking about who does what in the office, from a sense of where's your time best spent. There's a
Mm.
lot of people that can do these specific tasks over here. You're the only one that can do this task. So I get that you can do these things, but like you need to show them how to be successful at this, because you're the only one that can do this. So if you're doing these things over here, who's doing this? And so talk to them about that kind of stuff. That's something that we do a lot of. Looking at where their time is best spent. What's yeah, where are you most impactful? Some of that type of thing. We have two leaders right now that are both we have two very large accounts
Okay.
in two different locations. And they're both extremely tied into those large accounts. So we're trying to find solutions for both of those right now. But sometimes you just got to put the time into just to grow those things and know that, it's an in the future solution. Right now it's just you're in it, and you guys got to keep growing it for the time being.
Well, it goes back to what you said about relationships and him standing on stage talking about relationships. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just external, it's internal. But when it comes to external, when you have two big ones, you want to keep that and you want to
Yes.
keep that around.
Yeah. And no one's ever going to care about your business like you. If you're the owner of a business, no one is ever going to care about that. That big account can make or break your business, and no one is ever going to give that the love intention, no matter how great of a person you hire to do that. If this is a really important time in the the trajectory of that relationship of that business, no one's ever going to love it the way you are. So right now is an important time. So just keep giving it that love. I know it's hard, but you gotta think in decades here, not months and in years.
What you just said is nobody's ever, and that's the truth. It's when we run our business, we own it. This
Hmm.
is our livelihood. This is what we do. How do you help that? Because I got to think for your leaders, your partners, what have you. And how do I say this with their sales team? They wish they would do this, or why don't they just do this, or why don't they do that? And it's so hard to understand that they don't own it like you do.
Hmm.
Do they understand that? Do they see that, or does that drive them kind of batty?
Does who understand see what?
Your leaders, your partners, for their sales teams.
I mean, yeah, they see that. It takes time in this business to develop the thickness of skin, and it takes a while to learn and see the signs of when you need to rip band-aids off and make decisions. And you see the patterns of how quick a decision gets made with people, and how quickly they start holding people accountable and seeing red flags and some of those things. And they just learn to start steering things sooner, and how to steer them. And it's one big journey.
So
Yeah.
let me take the flip side of this, because we've talked
Hmm.
about things that are struggles and not as good as you want it. And then what's the flip side of that? Like, why did you get into this? What keeps you in it? Like, why do you do what you do?
Yeah. It's a great question. And when I first got into this, I was broke, man. I had no money. I had six figures in student loan debt. My
Okay.
wife was working and supporting me. We were eating ramen and trying to make a rotisserie chicken last a week and frozen vegetables. And I needed a job, but
Oh,
I had the experience of taking a craft, playing music, and raising it to the highest level. And so I knew what it took to really become a master of something, and I wasn't the best in the world. I mean, I was very, very good comparatively. I think of like the NFL or the NHL, right? I was at the semi-pro level. I was taking gigs and traveling around and, advancing in some auditions against some of the best in the world, but I was not Tom Brady or someone like that. I was far from it. But you learn that kind of stuff, and I'm a very competitive person, extremely
hmm.
competitive. So I got in the business, and it's just I've always been a tinkerer and a builder of things, and very driven, and finding ways, and it's a lot of strategy. And I just saw from just and people have asked me this a lot, other business consultants and things of that nature. How did you learn the leadership skills or the business skills? And I don't really have a great answer for that. It just kind of came naturally to me. I just think that um, I got in this business and I saw that it was a really meaningful business, being that we offer, put food on people's tables, and we help the local community. You got to work with local businesses and people that are down on their luck that need maybe a helping hand, or sometimes it's just helping them find a new job. But either way, it's very meaningful work what we do. So that was a major, positive in the plus category. And it was a chance to build something. It was cool
Hmm.
that it was, of kind of a family business. I worked with my dad. That was really cool. Never really thought that was going to be something. So that was another in the plus category. And then it was something new. I was burned out on music, and I had an knack for it, and it just started seeing success and started growing. I got into a good time. It was right after that 2007, 8, 9 recession. So staffing was growing, and it was just the right time to get in, and the right mix of just of previous skills and experience, and it just took off. We had some really good leaders already in the business to be able to lean on and get results through them, and just kind of molded and crafted in a way. And here we are today, and we're nowhere near where we want to be, but we have one of the largest groups in all of Express. So it's been a wild ride.
Maybe a simple question, maybe tough, but where does your work ethic come from? Because just listening to you, and maybe that's small town Iowa, maybe it's your dad, maybe it's mom, maybe it's whatever, but how has that been instilled in you?
I don't know. I look at my partners, I look at so many other people,
Yeah.
and I think of them as such much harder workers than I am, is what I feel like. Maybe not. I mean, that's my wife, and I'm never not working, right? She begs me to put my stupid phone down, and I live on that thing. But um, I just I want to build something.
Yeah.
I like it. I like to gamify things. I like to win. I like to earn. I like to want to build a life. I want to take this thing that my dad built and that our partners built, and build something larger. I don't know. It's
Okay.
fun to build and grow and compete and do something with it. Why not?
I
Right?
love that
What's the
answer.
alternative? Sit around and just go through the motions of life and not, I don't know.
It's like people think there has to be a reason why you're wired this way or why it is, and there's not. It's just that's who you are, and it's okay.
Yeah.
You just want to develop things. I do want to go back to because you talked about obviously being in music and
Hmm.
taking that same thing and transferring it over to the staffing world.
Yep.
How much time, energy, and practice? Because that's kind of where I'm going with this. You had to practice to get as good as you
Yeah.
were. How much practice did you put into it, and how did that correlate with what you do now? Because I think you're onto something there.
And in music, I mean, it was
Yeah.
starting my senior year when I went to Interlochen. I mean, it was outside of rehearsals,
Yep.
probably 3 to 5 hours in a practice room a day, 5 to 6 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week, I would say. There was lessons and rehearsals. I mean, it was 7 to 8 hours of playing, probably 5 to 6 days a week,
Put that in perspective. You are practicing your craft 7 to 8 hours a day. So you're talking 50 hours a week, give or take,
at least. Yeah,
just getting better at what you do.
yeah, at least. And I lived I lived with brass players. We would, our free time, we were going to concerts. We that's what all we did, right? Listening to music. I don't know anything about popular music, even still. It's my dad's Christmas present to me this year. We went down and saw Bruckner 8 like 2 weeks ago, down with the Minnesota Orchestra. The Bruckner's 8th Symphony. So it still plays a role, but I'm weird that way, right? I'll go watch Mozart Requiem or Mahler's Second Symphony or something instead of going to something else. But yeah.
But those are habits that they're just instilled in you. It's just the way it is. And not all you did, I don't want to diminish it, but lack of a better term, all you did was transfer what you were really good at here to right here because you knew how much time and effort it was going to take to build what you want to build. It doesn't just happen.
Yeah, and you see that with anyone that's had success, right? I'm a big, I like to study people that have done things, like I know Tim Ferriss has written books like Tool of
Yep.
Titans and different things like that, where people study. And the one thing that is kind of always a resounding theme is you have to be maniacal about it. If you want to accomplish anything, you have to put the time in. You have to be maniacal about mastering your craft. You have to get really good at it, and you have to be relentless, and let nothing get in your way. And and the business has to come first. If someone's not a right fit, I'm sorry, but the business has to come first. If a client is not the best culture fit, or they're treating your people poorly, I'm sorry, but we'll do what we can to salvage this, but the business has to come first. We have a lot of people that are relying on us, but the business always comes first.
I love that. That's where it's okay. It's giving
Mhm.
yourself permission to be able to see what's working and what's not working, and
Yep.
it's almost taking the emotion out of it and just making it a logical thing, and that's not a bad thing. But so many of us want to make it emotional because we just obviously you're in the business of simply helping people, really is what you're in the business of.
Yeah.
And that's where the soft spot is. You want to probably help everybody. And the people I've met there obviously have that same trait,
Yep.
a lot of it. So, yeah. Huh. So, what does the future look like? You're at 5 locations now.
Hmm.
Is this something you want to build more? Are you, I don't want to say, are you happy where you at, but are you honing that and keeping that foundation and then building upon that, or where does that sit?
Yeah, the future's bright for sure. The last 3 years have been really challenging.
Okay.
We've been a pretty large pullback. The industry itself has been pretty significantly down the last 3 years. Double digit decline. Staffing always feels it first. We're a leading indicator for what's to
Okay.
come. So we were the first ones that started going down. The end of 2023, we were down. But we're starting to come up now. So
Okay.
as far as adding more units, I wouldn't say no, possibly. When it comes to that, it's really about two things. You need the money, okay? That's not really the issue, and you need the people, and that's kind of been the challenge the last few years. We had a longtime manager. One of my dearest and closest mentors passed away from cancer down in our original location, in Red Wing, and that threw a monkey wrench into our entire
Mm.
group. So we had to kind of shift things around. We had another partner that we ended up parting ways with here in Forest Lake.
Mhm.
We had another leader in our River Falls location that we parted ways with. It's been kind of a challenge the last 3 years here. So really, these last 6 months, we've really gotten our feet underneath us. So the next few years, it's really about it's getting back to the basics and growing. We're strong. We're up about 30% this year over
Oh,
year so
wow.
far. So
Okay.
we've been really, really happy with how things have started off. Yeah, the next couple of years, it's all just about growth, getting wide, getting diversified. From there, it's hard to say. I mean, I could see us adding more units. We'll see how many more recessions I want to go through. That's how Express people kind of tend to look at it, right? When he retires based on how many recessions you want to go through. Going through staffing recessions are hard.
Oh,
It's a challenge for sure, and you see their cycles every 7-8 years. Man, you just go through it. So
well, staffing's it's tough anyway. I mean, you are, lack of a better term, I'm gonna be I don't want this to come off, but essentially we're selling people is what it comes down to, and our product is
human capital.
people.
Yep.
Yeah, and you have to trust that they're going to show up and they're gonna do the job and
Mhm.
all the things that go with it, and that's is
It's hard to get
yeah, I was just
financing.
gonna ask.
There's no inventory. There's no they have we have no collateral. Nothing like that. So it's our product is people. So they have a mind of their own. It's like we're not sitting here with inventory of tables in a warehouse, right? We have
No.
people. Sometimes people decide to do things you just can't possibly fathom. On both ends of the spectrum, clients and our labor, and so it is. It's extremely rewarding. It can be extremely profitable, but it can also be a giant headache.
Well, that's I just and I wasn't in it that long. I go back to that. So listening to you say that, to me, by far, that was the hardest thing is when somebody you'd place them or want to place them, they'd tell you no,
Yeah.
or they just wouldn't show up, or they wouldn't do the things, or they were just difficult. And it's like you said, if you're selling a table or a widget, you can control that. With a person, you can't really control that. You can
Yep.
do what you can, but
Yeah. And that's where it comes down to training in our offices too, and
Okay.
being able to help, our people, because what do our conversations look like? Are we having good, that's one of the value adds that we, compared to our competitors, right? We get face to face with everyone. So we have the
Mhm.
opportunity to instill, build those relationships, and hopefully have a better chance of not wanting them to let our people down because they've built a relationship there and said, like, I'm putting my name in the line for you here, right? We've spent this time together now. I've called this company up. I've made a recommendation for you, put my name in the line, everything else. And so, but there's always things we can do. Right? There's a lot of different levers you can pull in our business to try and grow things. And turnover's definitely been higher these last 6 months than the last few years. So we're working on that right now.
You've touched on this a couple times and just development with your people, with you, what have you. What are some of the, because you even touched about way back when you first started, you had really good leaders around you, mentors, what have
Mhm.
you. What do you think, if I'm a leader, whether I've been in the business for a long time or newer to it or what have you, what should I do to make myself better?
Well, first, I would say you want to surround yourself with people that had success, right?
Okay.
You want to learn from those that have done it. What do they say? God gave you two ears and one mouth for a reason. Listen, and listen with intent to hear. I think is a big. I'm a big fan of reading, listen to podcasts like
Love
this. Read, listen, all type of thing. Um, Honestly, though, just put the time in. Not enough people out there are putting the time in. Everything is so fast right now. They're everything is they're on their phones and they want everything right here and right now and they don't put the time in. It takes a while to learn your craft and leadership is a craft. Business is the craft, sales is the craft, all of that. And it takes a while to learn that. Leadership doesn't really come naturally, right? That's why, like, one of the biggest challenges that companies are having right now is supervisor burnout because all these companies are taking their top performers and they're putting them into leadership roles and they have no idea what they're doing and they're just getting frustrated and mad and they're yelling at people and and they're getting burned out and people don't want to work there and the culture suffers and you see it in every type of business out there right now. And so, it really, taking investing in yourself, go to classes, see speakers, get training, take the opportunity to go see someone like you, read, listen to podcasts, and just,
that.
but listen, learn, seek out that knowledge, but also just be patient. It takes time, and just constantly be trying to optimize and get a little better every day.
That is right there some of the best advice that I think I've ever heard. Just because we want it right now, especially in this day and age. We just do. That's normal. That's natural tendency for instant gratification that we want it. And you're telling people, be patient. Don't say it takes time because we'll hold on to that, but put the time in
Hmm.
over and over. It's the repetitions, just time and time and time again, and you will develop.
Yeah.
But you have to do it. You can't just wait for it to happen. And I
And
think that's part of what you're saying.
ask for feedback for the people that you are leading. If you're going to be in a leadership position, ask for feedback. How am I doing? Am I motivating you? Am I annoying? Am I annoying you?
Yeah.
Are there things that you'd like to see differently? And all that. I mean, it's okay to ask for feedback.
And that's not a bad thing. Like really good leaders want that.
Yeah, vulnerability is a really strong aspect of leadership. Not
I
not just always saying I'm wrong and showing you're wrong and not being confident, but being vulnerable, just and showing where you've made a mistake and owning up to that and having them be part of the solution moving forward. That's a really strong leadership quality in my estimation.
I agree. People respect that.
Hmm.
None of us know it all.
For
We
sure,
don't. You can learn as much from the person that just walked in the door as you can from the person that owns the company at the same time. So
totally agree.
it's just about seeking it out and seeking to understand and seeking for that knowledge too.
Hmm.
I love that, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on here. How do people find you when they want to work with you, when they want to work with Express the best? How do they find Luke?
Well, you can email me, luke.sodergren@expresspros.com. We have locations in Red Wing, River Falls, Wisconsin, St. Croix Falls, Wisconsin, Forest Lake, and Rogers. If you Google Express Employment Professionals, we have locations all over Minnesota, Wisconsin. That's really the best way. The best way to find us. Each location has their own website. We have Facebook pages. We have Instagram pages. We have all of that. But yeah, Express Employment. That's the best way to find us.
That's what I would say. If you are looking for help and you want to go to the best of the best, thank you. Because that's why when I thought of, I sit here at times and think about some of the best leaders I've ever met. And obviously now people listening to this can tell that just by who you are as a person and what you have built and how you've done it. It's pretty special, man. I love the humility around it too, that
Wow.
sometimes we don't see it from the outside in, but
I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Being on. Appreciate it, dude.
Yeah, appreciate having me. It's been fun.
Thanks for joining us on the Your Limitless Leadership podcast with Jenny and Brent Widman. We hope today's conversation inspired you to think differently about leadership, not just in your career, but in every part of your life. Remember, leadership starts with leading yourself first. It's about taking action, making bold decisions, and showing up with purpose. Now, it's time to take what you've heard today and put it into practice. Whether it's in your business, your community, your family, or your own personal growth, start leading without limits. You have the power to become the leader you're meant to be. Until next time, keep pushing your boundaries and leading with purpose.